Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning, and welcome to a Friday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We have JC today, and we'll have Mike Morgan from the SEC Network and ESPN join us, give us his thoughts on the College World Series. Gators crank up tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, weather permitting, against the Virginia Cavaliers. Got some sad news. Got a report last night, a couple mini texts. Our good friend Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show and Gator Bait Media, his wife passed away last night, so our thoughts and prayers go out to Buddy. And it really surprised me. So, Buddy, we're thinking about you, my man. JC, you're on the Titan MR hotline. What's happening?
Yeah, thoughts for Buddy and his family, of course. And we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers, Buddy. Good guy, a tremendous Gator, and really good at what he does. So QB, we've got two games tonight, today, rather. One today, one tonight. We've got golf. And, I watched that golf last night, and it wasn't that I was let down or anything because I love watching this golf. But 8 under par, 62.
No,
two guys.
I was extremely let down. I felt like I was watching the John Deere Classic.
Yeah.
I mean, here's my thoughts on this. Dan says, so sad for the Martin family all my life. Yeah, I agree. So the U.S. Open is supposed to be the most difficult challenge of all tournaments. It's just has always been that way. You're supposed to have narrow fairways about 20 to 25 yards wide, high rough, difficult golf courses, tough pin placements, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The average width of these damn fairways are 43 yards wide. All right. And they tricked me. They've never played at the LA Country Club. No. And and basically what they explained last night, who's doing it? It's Paul Azinger. I think he's very good. He was saying they couldn't bring the fairways in at this golf course because it would mess up is the wrong word. I forgot the word he used. The bunkers there, they have this fescue and this funky grass that grows around them. And so I don't understand why you couldn't do that. Just bring the damn fairways in. It ain't going to affect the look of those bunkers and stuff. So anyway, I'm very disappointed. I ain't gonna lie. I watched it all. I'm still extremely upset about it because I've never seen so many damn birdies in my life. I swear it was like the Bob Hope Classic back when we were growing up and people shoot 28 under par. So let's hope that the USGA saw my text last night, not my text, my tweet, and they make this damn thing harder. And then I have never in my entire life heard of a what is it? A barranc? What is that thing called? It's a damn ditch.
Yes, it's the thing I was saying. It goes.
It's a ditch with weeds and stuff in it.
Yes. It's nature. It's wildlife. Whatever it is. QB. Not to mention, we have mild conditions, 70-degree weather, no wind at all, no precipitation. There's nothing hard about the weather aspect of this tournament, and we didn't expect that to be the case with it being in LA anyway. But I agree with you on the fairways. Didn't know they were so wide. I agree.
Yeah, 43 yards wide, JC. Think about that. That is a 40-yard dash.
No, I know.
They can run a 40-yard dash from one fairway to the other, one side to the other.
I think they will do something with the pins. I think they'll try to make the greens even faster if that's possible. And I think you'll see scores. I think you'll see higher scores today than you saw yesterday because it was a shootout. It was like going to the carnival. And listen, I mean, good for Ricky Fowler, good for Xander Schauffele, the Californian. And
by the way,
yes, You did. Yeah, I don't know. But, first round QB. Don't crown yourself just yet. You haven't won it yet. But listen, good for him. It's still going to be exciting. I'm still going to be excited to watch who wins because it is a major. And I do think maybe that they will do something with the pins and certainly with the greens to make it a little bit more challenging. But if these guys put the ball in the fairway, it's helpless. It's helpless.
Well, I mean, JC, 40 yards wide is that is an enormous fairway.
That is enormous. That's like some of the things we see out at UF almost. I mean, UF has one.
I don't even think 40 yards wide.
Well, number 10, number
10 is not 40 yards wide.
You don't think so?
No.
Well, number 3 is
no. So here's how I could tell you 40 yards wide is because if I could just stand flat-footed and easily throw a ball to the other side of the fairway, it's not 40 yards.
Okay.
And 40 yards is a long way. So I am extremely disappointed in the USGA. I hope they hear me complaining today.
Hey,
because when you listen to the announcers last night, I think they were embarrassed for.
Well, they were. McGinley and Brandel just went on and on and on. I couldn't watch it anymore. But QB, they knew all this when they picked this place. They saw the golf course. They walked it.
I think the golf course is beautiful. I love the way it's laid out. It's just these guys are so damn good today's world.
I mean,
the only way you make golf difficult for them is tight fairways, high rough.
That's right. And
I don't care how fast the greens are. I don't care if they're rock hard. None of that matters the way these guys can spin the golf ball. It's if you get here with your tee ball and you're in 4-inch rough, now you have to lay up. They need to let me design the damn golf course.
Yeah, and there's no trees in the way of anything, it seems like these days.
No.
There seems to be deforestation amongst all of the golf courses that these guys play on. And so, with the exception of maybe a couple, Colonial, Hilton Head, but we've got really big names shooting it out. And, even the guys that are 3, 4, 5 strokes back still have a great chance because anybody apparently can shoot 62, right? So it's going to come down to, I think, who's the most accurate. I mean, here's Rory on number 1 hitting a 380-yard drive. The par 5, he's got wedge coming in. He's got a freaking driver wedge on a par 5.
So have you ever, in the history of sport, seen a guy, or history of golf, I should say, Roy, as you said, hit a 382-yard drive yesterday. He also hit a shot that went 0 yards. Did you see that?
No.
He was.
He went underneath the ball on 18. Yeah, he whiffed it on 18. It was sitting up in the grass and went right underneath that. Who hasn't done that in their life? I've done it once.
Yeah.
But Rory's got wedge. The point is, you don't go driver wedge into par 5s. And they try to lengthen these courses. That's not how you make it harder.
No, I'm telling you, they need to call me. I can make this damn thing difficult.
Okay.
So
Rosenblatt State, not Rosenblatt, but this place where they're playing tonight ain't easy either to hit the ball out of.
No, that's a big yard.
335 down the lines and whatever. But
Tony says some of those very long holes are downhill. That is true. He was surprised nobody picked DJ. I guess he's talking about our group. I guess just the pictures that I saw when I flipped through the Golf Channel, I'd look on Twitter. I was like, damn, this is going to be difficult. So I kind of bought into how hard it is. I'm telling you, man, 40-yard wide fairways is easy golf. Golf.
We had a friend that said -3 would be the winning score, and I laughed out loud.
Well, I'll be honest with you. That's what it should be for a U.S. Open.
It should be, but this is different. This course is in the Los Angeles Country Club, bro. They're not playing Oakmont. I mean, this is not Oak Hill. This is not – hell, Jack's place in Ohio was harder. The Memorial, right? I mean, the winning score there was 7 under and only a couple guys.
Hell, Hawkstone may be harder.
The Hawk, baby, especially. But the trees we have out here would kill these guys. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
All right. So at Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville, North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. We got JC. We'll have Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. There was a Facebook live. Oh, here it is from Andy. JC, it's for you. brought to you by Mellon Law. He said,
Yeah,
JC, looks like your Justice Department is getting involved in the LIV or the Live PGA merger. How's that going to end? Are you an attorney now, JC?
The Department of Labor or Justice?
He says like Department of Justice.
There's been a crime committed? Do we have criminal activity going on? Listen, I don't know if the government should be wasting their time on sports squabbles, especially when it comes to NIL or any of this. If the ruling authorities in college sports can't figure it out themselves and make their own rules, then it's just quit wasting my time with taxpayer dollars going up to the hill. That's silly. I've always laughed at that. And believe me, they don't care up there. But I mean, Richard Blumenthal couldn't give a crap about if the SEC pays players. It's just not an important thing. But QB, when it comes to the live thing, I like the way the golfers have just kind of put that aside so that they can concentrate on what their real job is, and that's to entertain me on the weekend of Father's Day. That's their job.
Entertain you.
That's their job, and that's really all I want them to do. I don't need to know about anything else. I don't care about their net worth. I don't care about who got more money than the other guy. I don't care about any of that. I don't think America does either. So it really irritates us when billionaires are arguing with millionaires. I don't care. And when it comes to football, look, did you see, by the way, I just have to bring this up. Did you see what they did to Alabama in 2024?
No.
In 2024, Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, with LSU, Tennessee, and Oklahoma all on the road. Hey, I know.
Well, as I saw a tweet, somebody tweeted about Georgia's 2024 schedule. They said, Hey, Georgia, welcome to the SEC.
Yeah. Well, listen, and then I thought about Oklahoma for a minute, and I thought this was one of the worst teams in the country last year. So,
their schedule's the most difficult I've ever seen.
It is. It's terrible. And let's not fool ourselves. Oklahoma was bad last year.
They had the same exact record as the mighty Gators last year,
and their defense might have been just as bad. So
here's what's bad, JC. Have you looked at the mighty Gators schedule for 2024? That damn thing that's the most difficult schedule Florida's ever had in the history of the school.
I know it. We've talked about this, and everybody bitches and complains outside of the SEC about not them playing 9 games. Just try playing that schedule. 8 games with an out-of-conference Power 5. Good luck. And I would rather play. This is the argument. I would rather play 9 Pac-12 games or 9 Big Ten games than have 8 with 1 in this league. Okay, don't kid yourself. Ohio State isn't crying about losing Penn State on their schedule in 2024. They're not crying about it. And Penn State's not crying about losing Michigan and Ohio State on their schedule either.
We got some text we got to get to on the Titan More text line. This is from Larry. Larry says,
Big Larry.
Larry, I'm a big time golfer. I love the golf talk. I know some people don't. If y'all had to choose one PGA Tour player who is the best ball striker in your opinion, who would it be? I know who mine is.
Well, wow. The best ball today or in history?
Well, I don't know. He didn't tell me any of that. I assume today.
I'd say today the best ball striker would be how do you say best? They're all great.
Well, I would say this. If I could choose one person's ball striking ability, and then I would take Rory McIlroy. That's a little sucker. People don't realize how he is probably the longest guy on tour with every club in his bag, and he's about 5'9", 5'10", about $160, and just murders it.
It's crazy. He's thicker though than Justin Thomas. He is, and he's built a little bit stockier than some of these other guys on tour. But he is super strong, and his club head speed is off the charts good. And I think Dustin Johnson strikes it as good as anybody.
Well, he does. But DJ, what surprises people? DJ looks huge on TV, right?
About 6'2".
He's 6'3"-ish, 6'4", but he's only like 190 pounds. Okay, JC, I'm 6'3", 215.
Yeah.
He looks way bigger. I'm way bigger than DJ. Anyway, enough of that. But I'd take Rory. Text on the Titan our text line. Josh from Mississippi says, I wanted yours and JC's thoughts on the Gators building a real life alligator exhibit attached to outside the stadium, similar to the one LSU has for Mike the Tiger. I think that'd be pretty cool if they did that. What do you think? I think it'd be great. We don't have any land to do it. There's plenty of alligators roaming on campus all the time. But they back when you were a young toddler, JC, didn't they have a real live alligator? They had that goofy it was like a goofy that would run. It was like a mechanical alligator.
Yeah, I can't remember a live alligator, but I do remember, and we've talked about this forever, that Lake Alice is where you go see alligators, and it's right on campus. So if you want to go see alligators, there they are. And they walk across the street sometimes. I've seen cops, university police officers, chasing alligators with brooms. It's funny. But, listen, I have a funny story. When I was at the member guest up in Mississippi, my member who brought me up there, he and I found a dead alligator that didn't look mangled or anything, but it was dead, about 4 feet long. He got run over on a dirt road. He scooped it up, stuck it in the back of his truck, took it to the golf course, told the golf course folks, employees, put that in a cooler and stick it inside until I'm done, and let me take the cooler home with me so I can put it in the freezer. And they did that. And I was thinking to myself, if I found a dead alligator, brought it over here to Hawkstone, would they put it in a cooler for me and let me take it home? And it's just awesome that they don't even hesitate up there in the SIP. But listen, I just think that the Gators, Alabama, these schedules, I just got to go back to that for a minute. These schedules are better. And anybody who complains, and I'm one of the complainers, I think they ought to play 9 games. But if you're from another conference and you're bitching about the SEC not playing 9 games, I would trade your schedule in a heartbeat for that one. So, good luck. Good luck. Go beat up on Nebraska and Iowa. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure. Hang on. I got to send this email to Mike Morgan. So bear with me, people.
So while you're doing that, let me just say something about this College World Series. We've got games at 2 and 7 o'clock. Of course, the first game is Oral Roberts and TCU. Nobody expected either one of those teams to be there. And then the Gators will play Virginia. But tomorrow, think about this lineup. Stanford, great pitching staff, and Wake Forest, a team that can hit the ball everywhere. That's a great contrast in strengths. And then we've got an SEC Classic with two heavy hitters in LSU and Tennessee. Tennessee's got some pretty good pitching. LSU can hit it out of everywhere. So I think this is one of the best fields that the College World Series has had in quite some time. I say that every year, but I think this really is one of the best fields. And I say that even with Oral Roberts and TCU because of how hot they are right now, how good TCU can hit.
I'm reading Dan here. Dan says on Facebook Live, they should make the opposing team's tunnel be clear plexiglass surrounded by alligators. So, like when you go to like the aquarium or whatever, and you walk down a hallway and you got sharks swimming. That would be cool. Like make it real swampy. All right. We got a text on the Titan our text line from Bubba in China Grove, North Carolina. You know where that is, JC?
Bubba, China Grove. That's probably somewhere in the eastern part of North Carolina, like East Carolina.
He says it's near Charlotte.
Oh, it's in Western Carolina. Okay.
He says, for perspective, McElroy won the U.S. Open in 2011 at Congressional Country Club, storming to victory while setting the mark for the lowest 72-hole score in the tournament's history at 16 under par. Second place was 8 under par then.
And he had hair. And he had hair out to here.
Yeah.
And he was just a youngster. Hard to believe that was 12 years ago that kid won that tournament at Congressional. But he's got four majors, including the British and I think a couple of U.S. Open, and I'm not sure the other 2. But he's won 4, and Brooks has won 5. And these guys, I think, have the best chance to get to 10 if they stay healthy. We'll see.
All right, Andy, I apologize. I didn't give much thought to this till now again. I'm going to ask JC this question while I think of mine. He says, if you could play, who would your dream foursome be, JC?
Oh, wow. Well, I had the pleasure of playing with Lee Trevino one time, and that was a dream come true. Johnny Miller as well was fun. But if you're talking about today's generational players, one of the guys I'd love to play with is Justin Thomas. One of the other guys I'd really like to play with is I think I would enjoy playing with Hideki Matsuyama. I really did. And we may not say much to each other, but I would learn something from him. I know I would. And then maybe, I don't know. I think, there's so many great players out there. I think I'd enjoy around with Scheffler. I'd enjoy around with all these guys. I don't know if there's a dream. I think it would all just be a dream come true if I could play with one of them. And so, these
So
guys
I would have I would make it a sixum because our group sometimes plays sixums.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of different folks here, and I just threw this real quick together, and it's no old timers. I'd go with Koepka because his demeanor's a lot like mine, and I just like him. Rory, I like Rory. Tom Kim, I freaking think he is so damn funny to me, Tom Kim.
Yeah.
And then I would want Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley because I need their action.
Well, I didn't know we were talking about non-golfers. Gee whiz.
Okay. Oh, I don't know. Because that way, that's easy money. So
easy money.
Maybe me and Tom Kim can wheel the rest of them.
Oh boy. I'm not sure that Rory would want Charles, but he could probably take care of it himself.
That's what But I would definitely have individual wagers with Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan.
I'd like to play with Nick Saban. I'd play with him. I'd like to play with Nick, hear what he's got to say, but probably won't say much. These guys just do this stuff out of the kindness of their hearts to play with just, random folks. And pro-ams are good at this. So if you want to go play with somebody cool, go enter a pro-am. Go play in a pro-am. That'll get you somebody. You'll get somebody. You might not get lucky, but you might get lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I got to play with Lee Trevino and Johnny Miller in Orlando at the Office Depot Father-Son Challenge, what it used to be called that. And we played at the Omni, which is a links course there. Champions Gate is what it's called. And Lee Trevino, he doesn't know me from the man on the moon, but you would have thought we've been playing together for years. And then Johnny Miller gave me so much wisdom out there. He said one of the things that I'll never forget was that everybody on tour can hit a 170-yard shot. The guys who make money on tour are the ones who make the 10-foot putt when they land the ball. And that makes total sense to me. It's because it is a putter's game. And because everybody can strike. Everybody hits the ball well. And drivers and irons are pretty much all marginal. But the putting is what makes the difference, and that's who makes all the money. And, Ben Crenshaw never would have won anything if he wasn't one of the greatest putters of all time because he wasn't a very long hitter. But same with Seve and same with Jose Maria. These guys short games were incredible. Billy Horschel used to say, and he told me once, he said, Johnny, if you ever practice golf, start from the pin and go out. And I asked him, I said, tell me what that means. He goes, start with the putting, then go to your wedge, then go to your pitch shot, and then just go out to the driver. Do the driver last. I said, okay, Billy, I'll take you up on that. I still have trouble.
I got to play with a lot of those old guys on the NFL used to have a tournament with the senior tour every year, and it was my favorite week of the year.
Yeah.
Because they'd stayed in the same hotel, they'd be in the hospitality room with us.
You got to
and
meet
speaking
them.
Of that, you would have zero chance playing with Hideki Matsuyama because I had to play with Isai Aoki one time.
He couldn't talk English.
He could not speak he couldn't even say hello. It was the damnedest thing. It was hilarious. He'd be talking to me, and I'm like, I don't understand you, buddy.
Then I take it back. Give me Billy Casper and Fuzzy Zeller. Then we'll have some conversations. Fuzzy Zeller, for all his craziness, won a couple majors. He won the U.S. Open, and he won the Masters. But he was the first guy at the bar. While Tiger was going off to the gym, and while Jordan Spieth was going to the driving range, Fuzzy was heading to the bar.
Well, speaking of that, one year when I was at the NFL Cadillac, I walked into the hospitality room, and Arnold Palmer was sitting, and he must have had 25 beer cans stacked in front of him.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
That's awesome. He had the greatest. Yeah, what a lot.
Yeah, old Tom L on Facebook Live says no sixums at Boston. Hell, we can't even play a fivesome at Boston. but they'll let plenty of onesomes walk and slow the whole damn course down.
They'll let a onesome walk in between two foursomes with carts.
It's the stupidest thing in the world.
I can't imagine.
Onesomes and twosomes screw the entire flow of a golf course up, but they don't understand that.
My golden rule is that onesomes have no rights. Okay, they have no rights. They're like ex-cons. They have no rights on the golf course. I don't care what they want to do, where they want to go, who they want to play in front of or behind. They have no rights, onesomes. And walking onesomes should be banned, okay? Because
Well, here's what I like to tell onesomes. Go find some friends.
Yeah. I do have a very
go find some friends that you can play golf with, and don't screw the damn golf course up.
Yes.
All right, JC, before we get you out of here, let's get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. All right, U.S. Open 1996. That's the year the Gators won the national title, by the way, JC.
Yeah, I remember. I do remember.
At Oakland Hills. Steve Jones wins his lone major title, one stroke ahead of Tom Lehman and Davis Love III.
Wow. That's old school stuff. Thank you.
It's Jones, that's probably the only damn tournament he won, too.
It's hard to believe that was almost 30 years ago. My God. All right. So real quick, before you get Mike in here, because I really value what he has to say, because he's all over the world and he's very good at what he does. But I've got Florida tonight, and I've got TCU playing in the winner's bracket tonight, after this round. And then tomorrow, I'm going to go with LSU, and I'm going to go with Wake Forest. There you go.
I saw a thing on Twitter. These I forgot what baseball site it was, but they have like 6 or 7 writers, and they picked who they thought would be only. I think it was 7 of them. Only 2 of them picked the Gators to win the national title. A ton of them had Wake Forest. You know, Wake hit a bunch of home runs, but they have literally a ballpark the size of West Side Park.
That's true. So, and I don't know if their pitching is as good as, say, maybe even Stanford's. It's good, but this to me comes down to who pitches the ball best. I just think that's the common winning denominator in every College World Series. At the end of the day, with the exception of a couple of years, the team that pitches best, and Florida's deep with that, will be the team that goes the deepest and possibly wins it. Because once you get to a 3-game series, it then comes down to who just plays better. But I think to get to that 3-game series in that second week against the winner from the other side, you have to have deep and effective pitching. And I'm not sure Wake Forest will bring that. But I think the pitching staffs of Florida, certainly of Tennessee, and even Stanford, they're very good at throwing the baseball. And that's to me the way you win this thing. I really believe that. Or you just get really hot. But that's how you win it, I think.
Yeah, Dan says the betting line has Florida as the 3rd favorite. I think it's Wake, LSU, and then Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
LSU.
All right, JC, have a good weekend, and we will recap. We'll recap the John Deere Classic and what's going on in the College World Series on Monday. I'm so damn mad right now, I can't tell you.
Don't let it spoil your viewing, though. It's going to be fun to watch either way.
But it's almost a given when it's U.S. Open. You get to watch the boys struggle, but damn,
challenged. At least be challenged.
Yeah. It ain't. They're not even remotely challenged on that golf course
at all. Well, I think it's going to get. I think the scores will get higher. I don't think that they're going to go to 20 under QB. I don't think so, and I'm not altogether sure it's going to even get to 15. But because people are going to play a little bit tighter, I think, as we get deeper into the tournament.
Well, not if they have these big ass fairways just to bomb away on.
Yeah.
And then they had like wedges, not just a pitching wedge, sand wedges in almost every hole. So
I mean, drive a wedge, please. Yeah. Okay, guys.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan tomorrow hotline, and we're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll be joined by Mike Morgan from the SEC Network at ESPN. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs,
Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Prime and Pearl, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Skechers, F45, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. Going to head back to the Titan More Hotline now. We're joined by good friend of the program, does a tremendous job on the SEC Network and ESPN, calling all of college sports, Mike Morgan, who is a Gator, by the way. Good morning, Mike. How you doing, my man?
Good morning. Yeah, in fact, the last time I was in town was a basketball game, and I think it was late February, toward the end of the regular season, and I had to check out Spurrier's Grill. So went there. The guy who was serving, I was at the bar by myself eating and drinking. The guy that was serving,
I bet I know who served you.
You know it already, right? Go ahead.
Well, since you said you were at the bar, it's got to be Billy's boy.
It's Billy's boy, yeah. And I'm like, man, your dad. So I was in my senior year, still covering the Gators for RUF Radio and UFT TV, and I was at the Billy Donovan introductory press conference. And I will never forget this because people will conveniently have revisionist history, but the media in that room, I just sat there. I was, just a young student reporter. I wasn't going to say much, but the media in that room was all saying the same thing. Why did Jeremy hire this 30-year-old from Marshall? Like, that was nobody had any idea that Billy Donovan was going to be Billy Donovan, a Hall of Fame basketball coach. But anyway, so he's serving me for like an hour and a half. I'm sitting there and kind of getting the royal treatment. I'm checking out all the rooms, and then I'm eating everything off the menu and having desserts. And finally, somebody's like, "You know who that is, don't you?" I'm like, "No, why? It's just the bartender." He's like, "That's Billy Donovan's kid." And we were talking basketball for half the time because he's like, "Yeah, I got a YouTube channel and you can check out my," and I'm like, "Who is this kid?" He's like 27 years old. He's got a YouTube channel breaking down basketball. Oh, he's Billy Donovan's son. Well, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, he's been there a while. Does a great job, no doubt about it. Mike, let's talk College World Series. You called some baseball games this season. You follow it. Gators are there once again.
Yeah,
I think it's the best team Kevin O'Sullivan's had.
Yep.
Whether they win it all, we shall see. But just kind of let us know what you know about the Virginia Cavaliers.
Gelof's an All-American. He's kind of the straw that stirs the drink for them. I had them in the ACC tournament 2 years ago, and he was just a young player, and he was, working his way into being the stud that he is. They're very well coached every year. You just like Virginia is never the most talented team in the field. They're never the most talented team in the field. And we all know the ACC is good, but it's not the SEC in baseball. It's just not. So, but even in the ACC, like they didn't dominate. Everybody they were all up on Clemson, and Virginia everything fundamentally they do right. They don't beat themselves. They've always got like one or two stars, but they don't have Florida star power. They don't have LSU star power. That doesn't mean they can't win. They've proven they can win. They're the only ACC team to win this thing since 1955 when Wake Forest did it, who ironically enough is finally back in Omaha. I totally agree with your assessment. Florida, this is not only Sully's most talented team, I think it's the most talented team in the field. And I've said that now for about 3 months running. And there were times where it was like, Mike, what are you talking about? They just got swept at South Carolina. They just did this. It doesn't mean the most talented team. This is not college football. Okay. In college football, either Georgia or Alabama or at a rare occasion LSU rolls out the most talented team and they win. All right. And the seventh most talented team has no chance very often. In baseball, you go back to Sully's 2017 team. That was not his most talented by far. They barely hit, 238, something ridiculous. It was not a good hitting team. Didn't matter. They did just enough to win. He had some teams that were much more talented top to bottom. And guess what? They either didn't make it to Omaha or when they got there, they stubbed their toe. So on one hand, you and I can sit here and say the facts, and the draft board will back us up. It's not an opinion. Florida is the most talented team in the field, period. The other thing that'll tell you is that the number one team, which is not always the most talented, in this case, I don't believe Wake is more talented than Florida. I think if Vegas had it right, Florida would be the odds-on favorite, and LSU wouldn't be far behind. But the number one team hasn't won this thing since Miami in '99. I say that just to say that once you get to Omaha, it's kind of a roll of the dice. And much like Hoover, if you don't win that first game, you're really battling. You're so far behind the eight ball, it's almost impossible. So win that first game and then let your rotation stay the same. You got so many days off where Florida's depth on the mound is just going to be, they're going to be fresh as a daisy if they make it to the championship, unlike some of these other teams that might be a little gassed. And then you throw out the lineup with Caglione and Langford, and Rivera's been there forever. I mean, there's just so many things to like about this team that they definitely have a great shot at bringing home a second national championship.
Yeah, and the good thing about in baseball, when you lose, you don't flip brackets like they do in softball. So I'm guilty of it, and I'm sure a lot of the Gator Nation is as well. You look at our side of the bracket, there are a couple teams that aren't ranked. That doesn't mean, as you just stated, in baseball, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, that other side of the bracket, which you got LSU and Tennessee got to battle out. You got Wake. On paper, our bracket looks a lot easier, right?
Yes, correct. Totally. First thing that stood out when I looked at the brackets, it clearly one side looks a little more stacked than the other. So again, if you win the first game, I think Florida's in really good shape to make it to the championship series. If you lose, now that changes everything. You lose that first game like 3-2, and this is the other thing about Omaha in this stadium. So I went to 3 College World Series at Rosenblatt, and that when the winds were blowing out, which was very often, that park played extremely friendly. Guys were just filleting the ball to the opposite field, and it's going 375 over the porch. That doesn't happen very often in this now Schwab Stadium, before TD Ameritrade, and the year after that it might be Hooters Park. Who knows? But this one plays a lot different. We don't have nearly as many home runs. The wind is not very helpful very often. It's pitcher friendly. But Florida doesn't just rely. They've got the power, obviously. I think the team that this ballpark will affect the most is Wake Forest, because Wake plays in a bandbox. They rely on power to score runs, and they play in an absolute bandbox of a park, and they're just not going to – I can't see a way that they're going to have that much power in this ballpark. They still have great pitching. Wake's no joke now. I'm not going to sit here and go SEC, ACC, therefore Wake is in – no, Wake is legit, and they have a team that's very, very dangerous. But I just would be concerned about the fact that they rely so heavily on home runs to score runs, and they do so in a very miniature ballpark that's not going to play that way in Omaha.
We're speaking with Mike Morgan on the Titan MR hotline. If you got any questions for Mike, shoot them our way. We have a text on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Brandon. Brandon says, Mike, we have to get your opinion on the 2024 SEC schedules.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the first thing that stands out because I thought overall, like everybody's going to whine and complain, but I thought overall it was pretty equitable. But when you add, and this is the key point too for those that complain about 8 versus 9, and I'd like to see 9, but the schedule strength overall is still what you make it. You got 4 out of conference games to make it something brutal if you want to, and that's what Florida did in 2024. Yeah, Florida's schedule in 2024, other than Samford, who rolled up like 50 points in the swamp a few years ago in a loss, that is ridiculous. Like, that is maybe the most difficult schedule I've ever seen. It's unbelievable what they've got to face in 2024. But again, much of that was their own doing. And I give Florida credit. They're trying to do what Georgia is eventually doing. They lost the Oklahoma game because of this whole thing. But then when you look at Georgia's out of conference opponents from 2024 on, and they're pretty impressive too. When you're a program that wants to play with the big boys and kind of play like one of the heavyweights, that's what you do. Unfortunately, Florida's results aren't there yet, and their talent level isn't there yet. And Billy Napier still has stuff to prove. I don't care what anybody says. Like, you don't just roll up, lose to Vanderbilt, go 6-7 in year one, and feel like, oh yeah, the program is absolutely headed 1,000% in the right direction. We don't know any of that. I think this year, Shane, I don't know if you agree with me on this. In terms of the Gator fan base, they're not going to be nearly as patient as they have been with some other coaches in the past. And that's not to say that they've been overly patient anyway. SEC fans in general are not the most patient bunch. But the Billy Napier tenure, I think so much of that momentum, either in a positive way or an incredibly negative way, is going to be instilled at the end of this season. And you're going to have your show there's going to be a vibe. It's either going to be like, man, we can feel this thing now rolling, and now we know why Billy won all these titles at Louisiana and a great track record as a recruiter, or it's going to be, holy blank, what is going on? What, we couldn't have done any better than this. This is inexcusable, and we're not going to take it anymore. And that I have a feeling it's not going to be in the middle. I have a feeling it's going to be one of the two.
Yeah, it's a big year. There's no question. I still think they're going to be a better football team than they were last year, and I'm sticking with 8 wins.
Okay.
Andy has a question for you here, Mike. Brought to you by Melton Law. He says, "Do you think Disney, ESPN will eventually pony up more money to get the SEC to a 9-game conference schedule?"
Little bit above my pay grade. I got to be careful how I phrase this. Okay. Everybody out there has probably been following the news, so you know what's going on. Okay. This was not the best year in the world to ask ESPN to pony up more money. There are layoffs coming. There are layoffs that have already been had. This is national news. I'm not breaking anything here, but that doesn't mean in the near future that couldn't change. There's 2 schools of thought here. There's the school of thought, and I've heard some national commentators that don't work for ESPN say this. Well, look, the deal is the deal. Like, the SEC signed off on it. Why would ESPN pay any more money than they have to? They don't have to pay any more money. Take it or leave it. Or there's the school of thought, well, look, if the money is there and it improves the overall product by going from 8 to 9, then why not go ahead and do it? There are people that are counting beans and figuring all that out. I don't know. The only thing I will say is I'm still very confident that we are eventually going to go to a 9-game conference model. It's going to be a 3-6 model, and you're going to see every opponent twice in 4 years. All the things that we were talking so much about before the bomb went off in Destin, that nope, we can't get to 9 right now. We're sticking with 8. We're going to kick the can down the road at least another year. I still think eventually it will go to 9. I just think there's too much momentum not to.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have a question for you regarding the Heisman Trophy. You're a voter, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I guess I was going to ask you, like, in your early, what are we in, June still? Who would be your top 3 people for our listeners to look? I mean, obviously, there's a couple that are no-brainers with Caleb Williams and Drake May.
Yeah.
Anybody else out there kind of flying under the radar?
I think Caleb's going to be a heavy favorite, although this wouldn't be the first time that a reigning Heisman Trophy quarterback went into another season where everybody thought he was the favorite, and it didn't happen. It's happened quite a bit, as a matter of fact. So, and I had Drake May in the Tar Heel spring game. He's the real deal, man. That dude, the size, the athleticism, and the arm talent. Again, I haven't seen Caleb up close. I've seen May up close. I also had LSU spring game, so I saw Jaden Daniels up close. If LSU does what I think they're going to do, which is win the West, Jaden could certainly be a Heisman Trophy candidate. Certainly, I mean, if you win the West and you got a chance to win the SEC and you're the starting quarterback, he's got to put up numbers. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. He's got all-star wide receivers. He's got an offensive line that relied on freshmen last year. They're now sophomores. It's almost like you remember 90. You remember 92 having two freshman tackles block for you. As talented as they were a hell of a lot better next year for Danny Werfel in 93 because they had experience, right? So that's what LSU, I think, is going to undergo. They're going to have a line now that can block really well and wide receivers and running backs. So Jaden's going to put up numbers. Then you always go to like the power program. So we go to the Big Ten. We go to Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, I don't know. Ohio State still, they got two guys battling it out, right? So it's like they don't have your typical, we know this guy is going to be a stud and put up ridiculous numbers and Ohio State's going to win 10, 11 games. And then it'll come down to Michigan. And then Michigan hasn't had stellar, they've been winning games despite the fact that they don't have just an all-star quarterback more often than not. And then my mind goes to the Big 12. Does anybody, is there a Max Duggan type story this year out of that conference? And off the top of my head, I can't think of one. I still think of Texas now in the SEC, but we do have one more year of them in the Big 12. So, I mean, those are some of the top names. You notice my brain went strictly to quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think a running back is going to win it again for a while. I don't think a wide receiver is going to win it. And I don't think a defensive player is going to win it. The only other name I'll throw out there, if they decide to feature Brock Bowers at Georgia, Brock Bowers could be like the wild card because, voters get tired. I get tired of voting for a quarterback every year or having three quarterbacks on my ballot quite a bit. Brock Bowers, if he wanted to, if Georgia wanted to, they could have him put up ridiculous numbers. He's a freak. He's going to put up Heisman highlights. And depending how Georgia plays, he can have Heisman moments. So that would be kind of the wild card, the non-quarterback that I could think of off the top of my head. I don't think there's not another Bijan Robinson that has this much hype coming in as a running back like he did last year at Texas, that I think he would be a high Heisman candidate.
Text on the Titan Mar text line for you. Mike, how many games, this is from George, how many games does Colorado win next year?
So we've talked quite a bit about this on the podcast, JC and Morgan. A little plug for that each and every week. We talk college football on that. We had Shane on a few weeks ago, who was spectacular. If you look at that schedule and you look at that roster, if Deion could somehow squeeze out over 4, I'd be shocked. I think that's like a 4-win team, 4-8. And a lot of people are going to, there are people in Vegas that have bet on Colorado to win a national championship.
Yeah. I don't know I don't think they win 3 games.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I'm saying best case scenario, it's 4. Like if they find some magic somewhere and Shador, his son at quarterback, is ultra special. He did hire a good staff and he's going to need it because even at Jackson State, like, it's not like Deion was drawing up plays and coming up with master game plans. In some ways, Deion is like a figurehead, right? Like he's a great figurehead, but he's a figurehead. He doesn't have any background in once, like most head coaches have to at least have shown incredible prowess on one side of the ball. So they were either outstanding offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator at one point in their careers. Deion has none of that. So he has to surround himself, and he's treating it almost like an NFL team that hires a guy that doesn't have great background in either, but delegates everything to two incredible coordinators, and that's what they're trying to do in Boulder. But no, I think they'd be lucky to win 3-4 games, and then I think the real challenge is much like we were talking about with Billy Napier in 2024. Once the hype train has come and gone, this is not a 5-year process. Dion doesn't get 5 years to sell everybody on how great a coach he is. They want to see the results with the portal now and everything. He can sell kids. We've seen that. So with the portal and everything else, and when that conference not being particularly strong, I still think they belong in the Big 12 and might wind up there. I think that the Dion hype train could really find itself in a much different position in 2024 if they're still winning 4 or 5 games. And depending on there might be some losses where they don't just get beat, they get beat down.
Yeah. Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. One last question for Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. My question to you is, there's been all this talk about Florida, Georgia, home and home, getting away from neutral site game. Well, now we have 3 neutral site games within the SEC. You're going to have Texas OU in Dallas. You have Arkansas A&M at Jerry's World. So you'll have 3 within the conference in 2024. Have you heard any rumblings from the other 2 of their coaches bitching about not having a home game?
That's an outstanding question, and it came up. I was on another show, and they were talking about Texas, Oklahoma, and the question that was posed to me was very similar to the way you asked it. Maybe not quite with as much passion and fervor as you just asked it, because I get the feeling from the way you phrased that question, you don't want that game moving out of Jacksonville, right? You got nothing.
I don't think it's going to matter. Kirby, you're already number 1 in America in recruiting. What's it going to do?
Yeah, no, but here's the thing I do wonder, Shane. Like, you and I are around the same age. Jacksonville, obviously, you got to play in it. I was just there covering it. But it's a very special place to a certain generation of fans. I wonder if the younger generation, does it mean as much to them to have the game in Jacksonville? I think that's the issue here. Like, I think if we looked at a scale of 40 and above, Jacksonville is the overwhelming leader. But below that, the younger fans, they might say, you know what, I'd rather have another game in the swamp. The magic of me going through that speed trap in Waldo, is that still there, by the way?
I don't think they're allowed to do it, but they still pull you over. They still pull you over.
They still pull you over. The magic of going to the landing is gone, right? That's not even a thing anymore. And
I think
Jackson.
so.
Yeah. So the magic of all that might be gone for a whole other generation of fans. And so we know Georgia wants to get rid of it, right? But I would be curious if we did like a straw poll on Gator Nation. Do you want this game to stay in Jacksonville, or do you want an extra home game every other year in the swamp? And then if you broke it down by age, 40 and above, below 40, I think the numbers would be dramatically different. That's just my guess, just kind of reading some of the tea leaves. But the question was, to go all the way back, Shane, does Texas and Oklahoma have these conversations? Do Longhorn and Sooner fans have the conversation of, man, I'm tired of the Red River shootout or whatever they want to call it now. Let's just do a home and home in Austin and Norman. I don't know. I mean, I don't have the same feel for those 2 fan bases as I do Florida, Georgia, but clearly there's some pushback on Florida, Georgia. I don't know if there's any pushback on Texas, Oklahoma. I'd love to hear from those fan bases.
Yeah, and the same with A&M and Arkansas playing in Texas and in Dallas. So.
In Dallas, yeah.
All right, Mike. Good stuff as always. Again, plug your show and
yeah, man. JC
let us know what you're up to.
Yeah, sure. JC and Morgan College Football Podcast. We do it each and every week. We just had a series of great guests. We called it the Quarterback Derby. So we had you and Ryan Leaf and Tim Couch and Greg McElroy. We even had Danny Cannell, just because, we got to have somebody that everybody hates. And then, we'll keep just breaking down things. The great thing about college football now, it truly is a year-round sport, which is great for guys like you and me that do platforms like this. And then I finally get to take some time off, get ready for football season. I got some vacations here and there, and then before you know it, we'll be chopping it up for the fall. So as always, looking forward to that, and looking forward to coming back on your show.
Absolutely. Mike, have a great summer. Enjoy your vacations, and we'll see you soon, buddy.
Same to you. Good luck to the Gators in Omaha. I think it's a fun field. I always say this, a fan that if you've never been there, you ought to go because it is one of the most underrated events on the sports calendar. But I'm sure the Gators have been there so many times. Many of your listeners have already been once or twice. But good luck to Sully and company. It should be a fun ride.
Yes, indeed. All right. We'll talk to you soon. That's
See you
Mike
now.
Morgan from the SEC Network. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Have a great Father's Day weekend, everyone, and we'll recap everything on Monday. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to Buddy Martin and his family. Have a great weekend. Take care.